This guitar is really special to me because it was actually a surprise by my wife on our wedding day during the wedding. You know that part of the wedding when everybody's seated and they say, "Ladies and gentlemen, the bride and groom." And everyone stands up and claps. I had asked, and my wife had willingly let me, I'd asked for the song Jump to play as we walked in to the hall. And so Jump's playing and everyone's, clapping and it's fantastic. And I go to sit down and there's this box on the groom's chair and it says EVH on it. And I just lost my mind. I thought, oh, could this day get any better? So I received one of my dream guitars on the day I got married. So in case the day wasn't already perfect. So this guitar is obviously very special to me, and I've used it in a lot of videos and I will use it in plenty more. I also made a little discovery about this guitar which took it from a 7 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10. And I'm going to share that with you at the end of the video. But for now, let's get into what I like about this guitar. One of my favorite things about this guitar is the looks. I think this is a wonderful looking instrument. The stripes are just so crisp and iconic, and the fact that the stripes on the headstock just feels really premium to me. And I liked all the other models, and I've played the Frankie and I love the Frankie, but this one just really spoke to me. I just thought, oh, that just looks so cool. And I've always really been in love with the Live Without a Net, the Van Halen concert, and Eddie used his Kramer that this is modeled off for most of that concert, and I just love the way it looks. And I always imagined, what would that guitar feel like to play? Because he just makes it look like it's a Ferrari or something, like it's really athletic but worn in, but in a nice way, like an old pair of jeans combined with a Ferrari. That brings me to the second thing I really love about this guitar, the feel. It just feels so agile, You feel like you can play anything on it. And especially anything Van Halen just jumps off this guitar. And I've got a ton of other guitars I love to play Van Halen stuff on. But then when I got this, it's like, oh yeah, okay. This is the real thing. I love the frets. I love the neck. I like the finish. It has a nice smooth finish. So it's not like a shiny lacquered finish, but it's, I guess, more of a matte finish. I don't know my technical terms. So go look at another review if you want that stuff. And I believe it has a compound radius, and it just makes it really nice to play up and down the neck. I think what I like most about the feel is that this feels how I pictured Eddie's Kramer would always feel. This guitar just feels really sweet and buttery and spongy, especially when you have it dialed up with the right tone. So I use a Line 6 Helix for all of my tones, and that makes it quite easy to dial up a Van Halen-esque tone. That nice, spongy, compressed, sweet, responsive kind of tone. So this matches really perfectly with it. I do like the bridge, but I don't love it. It does stay in tune, and it sounds great, and I think it is a good fit for the guitar. But there are a few minor issues with it that eventually I might go and upgrade it to a Floyd Rose original. I have a Floyd Rose original on one of my other guitars, and even though this is good, an original is just really, really good. But I'll get onto those issues in a moment. So one little mod I recommend doing on this guitar, or any guitar that has a Floyd Rose for that matter, is putting an Allen key holder on the headstock. So what this does, this particular one is really good too because it's made out of plastic or rubber. And so you can keep all your Allen keys there, because you will need Allen keys if you have never owned a Floyd Rose. If you want to make any adjustments, you don't want to have to wait until you get home to make them. Like if you're at a gig and you snap a string, you want to be able to rip that sucker off and replace it in no time at all. So I really recommend an Allen key holder. This one's a Goto, and I think it's like $15 or something, and it's really good. I've used a few others. One that has like a little screw to keep the Allen keys in place. I hated that because it's a two-hand kind of job, whereas I like this, just one hand, just boom, grab the Allen key and off we go. The pickup is really great. It does one job and it does it really well. And it's actually really refreshing using a guitar that only has one pickup, because when you dial a sound in, you only have to dial it in for one pickup, whereas usually you have to sacrifice the tone to suit both pickups, whereas this you don't at all. And I've got a tone that I've designed for this on my Helix, and if I put a Strat into that and put it on the neck pickup, it sounds disgusting. So I think that really goes to show that there is actually an advantage to using only one pickup, I think. And Ed was onto something when he used one pickup for so long. It's quite high output and it has a really big, rich, saturated kind of sound. Great for getting all those pinch harmonics and whatnot. Yeah, I love this thing. It sounds great and it rolls off really well. Because you know some pickups, they just don't roll off at all. It's 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, nothing. But this rolls off really smoothly. Now, the first thing I don't like about this guitar is a bit of an odd complaint or opinion, but it feels too clean. You look at that original Kramer and it had tons of scars and it was relicked. And obviously the EVH Frankie is like that. It's relicked and it has that roasted neck, which looks great. And I can't help but feel this one in comparison just looks too out of the box. And I've had this for 6 months and I've intentionally not wiped it down or anything like that. And the fretboard started to get a nice bit of grime on it on certain frets. Kind of looks like, you know, someone's taken a pencil and rubbed it in. I would like it if it actually had a more relict look to it. So if they had an option to buy it relict or unrelict, I think that would be really cool. But as I said, that's kind of a weird idiosyncratic complaint. I have had somebody complain on one of my videos that my guitar looked too clean, which is funny because, as I said, I haven't cleaned it at all. But it just naturally looks clean. But I think it'd be cool if they did some relicking, you know, took some chips out of the body maybe, or I guess it's mainly just the neck. It's the neck just looks too clean and mapley or whatever it is. A bit more scunge would be good, but I think that'll happen naturally over time, especially if I take it to gigs and play it. The next issue I had with it, I did actually use this at a few gigs earlier in the year to the amusement of my bandmates, playing cover tunes, Whitney Houston and Shania Twain and Bon Jovi songs on this bad boy. And I made a point of every single solo I did that night, I tried to do it in the theme of EVH. So I was playing George Michael Faith and ripping all these wild runs. Got a few chortles from the drummer, but no one in the audience ever noticed. So the issue I've had with it during live gigs is this pickup doesn't cut through, at least in that style of music or with my rig in that environment. It was okay with a bit of dirt on it for that kind of AC/DC-ish kind of barking rhythm tone, but as soon as I put a clean tone on it, it really killed it. So I actually found it easier just to keep distortion on and use the volume knob to turn it down a bit. It's quite sweet like that. Now, I know that's a bit of a dumb complaint because this is not designed to be a versatile guitar. I had hoped to use it at more gigs with the band, but I don't think I will because a Strat style guitar just fits that environment so much better. You know, a neck pickup that really cuts through. This doesn't have a neck pickup and that's fine. But look, it might just be because I'm an idiot and it might take a while for me to dial in a really good tone that would suit that cover band environment. Now, finally, the main issue I actually have with this guitar is the bridge. Yes, it stays in tune, and yes, it sounds great, but there is a cheapness to the feel that actually prevents being able to turn the grub screws properly. It makes it really hard. Compared to my Floyd Rose original, that's really buttery and smooth, but this feels really kind of rusty in its movement. Now, I'm no expert. Could I put WD-40 in there? Or I don't know. Just on these little black grub screws here, they really don't like turning, and at the same time, the detuner does not like coming out. So I should just be able to pull this. And on my Floyd Rose original, I can. But on this one, it won't budge because it's the screws holding it in there so tightly. So I have to push the bridge down to release it. And you can see on top of the detuner there's quite a lot of scratching from this screw. So I don't know if it's the material they used or if, you know, the accuracy of the casting, or I don't know. But not a huge issue. So I might fix it one day. I might get a better bridge. I might not. It's not urgent because, as I said, it stays in tune. And I can go to drop T quickly. It's just that I need to use two hands to do it. And if you're playing gigs and stuff, that's a bit annoying. Now, finally, my little tip for really opening up the sound of this guitar. So I'd had this guitar for about 2 weeks and I was still using the stock 9 to 42 gauge strings. And they were pretty good, but it just sounded a bit flat, I guess. A little bit lifeless compared to what I was expecting. And I found that when I took a set of my Yngwie strings, so Yngwie, he uses 846 Fender Bullets. And so I thought, well, I might try that gauge on this guitar. So I slapped some 8s on there and boom, there it was. There's the sound. It had that lightness and that brightness that I was looking for. I played this in E flat as well. So it's 846 in E flat. And I know many of you out there are probably scoffing at the concept of having to play such light strings. So putting 8s on there is a bit crazy, I know, but to me, it doesn't feel unusual at all. To most guitarists, so I'm a guitar teacher, and most of the guitar players I teach push way harder than they need to. Generally, guitarists are quite heavy-handed, but I've tried to learn to be really light-fingered. And so I'm able to adapt to 8s fairly easily, and I think anyone can if you try it. And so it feels completely normal to me, but I'm sure if I gave a 15-year-old Tom this guitar, he would have been bending it off the neck. So that's my tip for improving the tone of the guitar, but it also improves the feel, I think. So if you're a Helix user and you want to have this sound, just look in the description. It's waiting there for you. You can download it for free because I'm a top bloke. So there we have it. I love this guitar and I highly recommend it for Van Halen lovers. As I said, the other ones are great too. If you prefer the look of the other ones, great. I imagine the feel is fairly similar. It's been a while since I played the Frankie. The appearance is quite different, but the feel is roughly similar. So having this guitar for 6 months, I can say that I'm very satisfied with it, especially since changing the strings. It sounds a lot sweeter and it just feels great and it sounds great. And I don't really have any serious complaints about it at all. If you want to do the relicking for me and come around and beat it up and take to it with a lighter, just let me know. And until next time, thanks for watching.